Ladies and gentlemen, Shelley Winter Show. And on the phone right now is a guy, I met him personally years ago. He's a good man. I met him up at his office. I was interviewing Carlin for a gig, for a job at the time, and met him. Didn't get the gig, but became friends. And he's the great pollster, Matt Towery of Insider Advantage, probably the only polling company that has consistently been correct on every poll they've done since 2016, basically, right, Matt? Oh, almost, right?
I think so, Shelley.
Yes,
You're
sir.
very kind to mention that. By the way, I heard my old colleague, Monica Pearson. You know, I used to do WSB TV with Monica and John Pruitt, and then WSB Radio with Neil Bort. So, I've been gone from Atlanta for over 12 years. So hearing those ads and hearing you talk, it brings me back home.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. So first of all, before we get into the recent polls that you guys have conducted on the Senate race and the gubernatorial race, when polls come out, this is very interesting. So a random poll comes out and it says Republicans are 90% behind President Donald Trump. And everybody says, yay, the poll is right, yay, yay, yay. Then another poll comes out and says America, the disapproval rating for the president is it's 70%. And everybody says fake poll, right?
Yeah,
Tell
right.
us how polling works.
Well, it's ever changing, and I'm getting older, and I'm lucky to even be able to keep up with the technology. But different pollsters do different things. You don't get a lot of phone calls anymore; those don't really work in the age of Trump. We use things like text. We use panels, which are people who have committed to answer the polls. I'm not really fond of panels, but if you get the right type of panel, you can get a good reflection. And then we try to mix all of it together, which has been our secret sauce. Because in the age of Trump, a lot of folks don't want to say they like him.
Right.
They're afraid that they'll be hunted down.
Right. Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you, when you said we don't use a lot of phone calls because it's the age of Trump, I want to ask what you meant by that. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, for one thing, the landlines are gone. Nobody has landlines anymore, so that doesn't work. And calling on a cell phone, what you think about this, Shelley? If somebody calls you on your cell phone, and you'll see these polls all the time. They have 65, 70 questions, which I think is idiotic. There's no way anybody's going to answer it. But do you think anybody in their right mind is going to answer a cell phone and talk to somebody to answer 60 questions?
Right.
And some
sense.
of these pollsters are still claiming that they do that. I'm doubtful of it. I mean, I'm sure they have a way of doing it, but I don't think it's correct, and their numbers are not really very accurate. So we try to do very short surveys. We try to make sure that they're done in mixed mode, as we call it, different ways, text, some cell, but a little bit of panel, and we mix all of that together, and it's allowed us to be very successful. I'm very proud that I don't think we've ever missed a race as far as the winner in Georgia in the entire time we've been doing this, and that's been 25 years. And nationally, Real Clear Politics has ranked us in the top. I guess we're in the top one or two of the presidential races since 2016. And overall, I think we're ranked number 5 or 6 of all pollsters in the world. That includes New York Times. And all of them are behind us, by the way.
Right.
The only one that tied us was Fox News, which is fine because I appear on Fox News every week. I don't want to upset them. But anyway, it is what it is. We also did a lot of great polling in the years when I was at WSB. I loved being at WSB and doing the news almost every night with John and Monica, and then of course appearing on WSB Radio from time to time with my good friends there. So I've got a long and I miss everybody there. So I just love talking to you. It's great to be talking to Atlanta again.
So when you talk, we're on the phone with Matt Towery of Insider Advantage, pollster. You just heard the qualifications and how they've been on top of it and correct so many times. When you talk about mixed media you said mixed media, different types of things that your secret sauce is putting them all together. During this election, I would get text messages that would say, "Are you free to answer a couple questions about the upcoming election?" Was that coming from a pollster or was that coming from a candidate? Because I never said If I would have known it was from a pollster, I would have answered because I want to be involved in a poll. But answer that.
Well, we have a way of putting it out there so you know it's a news poll. We don't do polling for individual candidates. We just do it for news and Real Clear Politics and groups like that. I've always kept us that way.
So you don't do specific candidates?
No, I will not do it.
Okay. Are there pollsters? Are there pollsters that do?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're and they make a lot of money, Shelley.
Right. I'm sure.
They don't always give them the right numbers, though. That's the problem. There's so many people out there.
I would assume that if I hire a guy to do a poll on, say, how popular the Shelley Winter Show is, if I'm paying him, he's going to come back with glowing numbers.
Well, that generally is the case,
right?
And that's the problem. You got to get those of us who are sort of out of that realm to get the truth, and we're seeing that right now. By the way, in South Carolina. For example, the woman who came in first place, I think she's the lieutenant governor. They're telling her, oh, she's winning. I just did a poll. She's getting creamed.
Wow.
And so I sent it out there, and I said, well, that's what it is. I mean, it is what it is in polling. The funny thing is, I didn't start out as a pollster. I don't know if you remember this, but I was in the Georgia legislature.
Yep.
I retired from that. I had been the nominee for lieutenant governor for the Republican Party. But my real background was we owned one of the largest commercial printing companies in the U.S. My family did, and we sold that company, and I had nothing to do. So Pierre Howard, who defeated me for lieutenant governor, the two of us started Insider Advantage, and it was supposed to be a web company that would be information about government on the web. We were going to be the hottest thing,
right?
And the web blew up. So we ended up we bought a company that did opinion research, and we ended up getting into the polling industry about 25 years ago. So I've become a pollster, but no one ever thought of me as a pollster until about 2001 or two. It's sort of funny.
That is funny. So let me ask you this now. First of all, Insider Advantage, you guys do a list of the most influential people. I don't know. I have a good friend who's never been on that list. His name is Shelley Winter. If there's ever a time that you could interview him to see if he can make that list. But I'll talk to you. I'll put you in touch with his people.
Yeah, Shelley, I got to tell you a story on that. So James Magazine, you're talking about James.
That's right.
Yes, which we started in 2000. I want to say 2004 or 5. And it's so funny because I'm not involved with the magazine. I let Phil Kent, who appears on another network, as we might say.
Yep.
Phil, I made Phil our publisher. And I never get involved in any of that stuff because since I live in Florida, I feel like I'm sort of out of touch and shouldn't do that stuff. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll have a talk with Phil Kent.
Have a talk with Phil Kent. I appreciate it.
We'll make sure you deserve it.
I appreciate it. So let's get to the polling. We've got Keisha Lance Bottoms, Democrat nominee for governor. We've got Rick Jackson, Republican nominee for governor. And then we've got Mike Collins and Senator John Ossoff, the incumbent. What do your polls say about those races?
Well, we haven't polled them yet. We successfully polled the winners of both of the two Republican primaries, the U.S. Senate and governor, which we're very proud to do that again. But that was tough, by the way, because we polled on Saturday. We thought we were through. And then on Sunday, Brian Kemp endorsed one of the candidates, and then Trump came out and endorsed the other one.
Kemp endorsed Mike Collins on Saturday in a Truth Social post, and then Governor Kemp came out and endorsed Burt Jones on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a pollster's nightmare because they said, okay, we're going to go back in the field. And fortunately, we caught the right direction, and we got them right. We've not polled the actual general election yet. Shelley, I've been telling people for years, Georgia is going to, at some point, become a Democratic state again. And that's hard for Republicans to realize. But
why do you say that? You see the numbers. Why do you say that?
I say that because the demographics in Georgia are shifting. I'm not saying it's going to happen this time. I'm just saying down the road. We call it VAP, voting age population. And the white VAP, which is where Republicans get most of their vote from, has declined to about 49.5% in Georgia. And as the years go by, that's changing even more. Now, that doesn't mean that African Americans or Hispanics don't vote Republican, but it's a touchy thing. I mean, with President Trump, for example, in 2024, he pulled about 18% of the African American vote in Georgia.
Yep.
And he pulled almost half of the Hispanic vote, and the other vote, which is also significant, which is Asian, other groups that are in Georgia. He did very well. Now, those numbers are more difficult this year, and also the turnout is more difficult. You don't know who's going to turn out.
Right.
So I think that this race in Georgia, both for governor and for the U.S. Senate, is going to be much more competitive than people think. And it doesn't surprise me. I've said this for ages. I'm not saying Georgia's going to go Democrat this time, but what I'm saying is it's going to be very tough for the Republicans. They've got to get their turnout out. I was very disappointed. I mean, Shelley, I looked at Georgia and looked at the early voting in the primary, not the runoff. And in the primary, early voting among Democrats and Republicans, Democrats turned out at 150,000 more ballots than Republicans. Yep. That is not a good sign for Republicans. So Absolutely. They got to get their act together in Georgia, or they're not going to make it.
We're on the phone with Matt Towery of Insider Advantage Polling, Pollster, longtime pollster, has gotten it right many, many times, as you know. Mike, here's my question. The numbers that, and I've been talking about this for months now, the numbers that Trump got from those minority groups, but then the Republicans, and I said this to Republicans last year during the election, these are Trump voters. They're not Republican voters. And the problem that I see is that both at the federal level and at the statewide level, Republicans are not doing anything to listen to or deliver for those voters that came out for Trump. And so those voters, by definition, can go anywhere. They can stay home, or flip, or just not do anything. What is your message as a pollster to Republicans in the state right now? What they should start to do, messaging wise.
Well, you're very on target with that. As you know, a presidential year, everybody turns out, but in these midterms, it's a matter of turning the people out who support you. And I don't think the national party, the Republican Party, is doing enough early on. You got to lay the groundwork early on to show people what you've accomplished. And President Trump has accomplished a lot, but it gets lost in the media, and it gets lost in the interpretations. I think they should be, for example, having ads on right now that talk about what they've done, what they've accomplished for African-American families, Hispanic families, in terms of their economic growth, in terms of the opportunities they have. I think that that's missing, to be honest with you. And without that, by the way, Shelley, they won't win in November, because you can't win with not 49.5% of the white population. And of that white population, there's a certain percentage that are Democrat, and there's a certain percentage that are just absolutely do not like Trump.
Right.
And that's what this is. It's a litmus test on Trump. So they've got a long way to go and a short time to get there, in my opinion.
My man, Matt Towery. Any last words before we let you go, my friend, about polling, the importance of it? How can people can we volunteer to be a part of polls?
Well, that you can't do, because if you do, it would mess the polls up.
Okay.
It'll happen, but I'll leave you with this. It's such a pleasure. I don't ever do interviews, Shelley.
I know. So it's an honor for me. I appreciate it.
I only do Fox News on the evenings, and that's about twice a week. But I just truly do miss Atlanta, and I love WSB. It's such a pleasure to talk to you, and you are a great guy. You do a great job. And call me during these next few months, and I'll be happy to talk to you anytime.
I appreciate it. Matt Towery, the great Matt Towery. I appreciate you so very much. You don't know what this means to me, and you have a wonderful weekend. And God bless you. God bless you, sir.
God bless you. Take care.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. I had Matt Towery on my show. Thank you, John Garst. Thank you, my brother. We'll be right back.
I wanna lie down. I ain't all that sleepy, but